I'm Edwin Warfield. I'm the publisher of Citybiz, and I'm honored today to interview Brian Hart, who is the founder and president of Flackable. Welcome, Brian.
Edwin, thanks so much for having me.
Can you provide an introduction to Flackable, your services, the types of clients?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are a public relations agency. We're based right in Center City, Philadelphia, but we do represent a national clientele, and we work with mostly financial and professional services businesses. And among those, it's mostly small to mid-sized businesses that we're working with. We work with a lot of wealth management firms. We do work with some fintechs. We work with service providers within the wealth management space. And on the professional services side, we've done real estate, mergers and acquisitions, and a number of other entities, within that big umbrella of professional services. Now, when we talk about PR, that is one of the most loosely used terms in the whole marketing umbrella. So I want to define that. The way that we approach public relations is by helping our clients earn and leverage third-party credibility. So by earning it, we help get them on TV as an expert. We help get them written up in their local business journal. We help get them quoted in places like the Wall Street Journal. Get them set up as contributors to places like Forbes. We earn credibility through positive media exposure. But that's only half of it. The other half is then helping them integrate systems to leverage that credibility that we've earned and integrate it through each vertical of their greater marketing approach. And we call that system credibility marketing.
And what was your rationale for naming the firm Flackable, which is a name I love?
So Flack it's an old school and kind of derogatory term for a publicity agent. So when I was thinking of names for it, I knew I wasn't going to name it Brian Hart Public Relations because I would have sounded like every other person in my space at the time, where they were typically just named after the founder in some way, shape, or form. And I never wanted it all to be about me either. So I eliminated that right off the bat, and I kept coming back to that term Flack. And Flackable just was there. The domain name was available, which is big. And so I decided, you know what? I want to take this term, I want to own it, and I want to redefine it.
Well, I think you've done a fantastic job. Yeah, when I think of you, you have redefined the term Flack. So prior to founding Flackable, you represented a number of financial services code for a New York PR firm. Tell us about your career and the decision to launch Flackable.
Yeah, so my whole career has been financial communications. I started and that all began back when I was in college. I got my first shot at a financial communications, opportunity with an internship while I was going to Temple University at a large financial PR agency. Now, the economy wasn't that good back then. So when I graduated, a lot of PR agencies just were not hiring. So I couldn't even get an interview with a Philadelphia PR agency, let alone an offer. So I ended up taking a financial services sales position, a corporate retirement sales position in the boiler room, making 150 cold calls every day. And you learn a lot. I learned a lot about the financial services space from that in-house experience. I learned a lot about myself, too, having a role like that. So I decided I did want to go back to public relations. That's what I wanted to do full time. So I leveraged some of my experience at that in-house position, plus my internship, to get an opportunity up in New York and representing financial services brands.
So the original focus of Flackable was on wealth management. Tell us about those origins and how it's evolved and now that you've expanded into the professional services.
Yeah, absolutely. So, back in 2014, when I founded Flackable, I saw this trend of registered investment advisors popping up all over the country. We're looking at the post-Great Recession era when people lost a lot of trust in the big banks, and a lot of people in financial services recognized that And a lot of these wealth managers realized that they could break away, get more independence, and build their own brands and run their own companies rather than relying on those big banks who had lost some luster behind their brands. But these wealth managers are not very good, typically not great at building brands by themselves. So I saw the opportunity for me to come in and play that role, and not only just build their brands, but build credibility behind their brands. And that goes back to our core focus. So our core focus hasn't changed a whole lot. It's as important now as it's ever been.
And so since your launch in 2014, what are some of the key milestones?
Yeah, so I mean, a big one happened recently. So last year, actually right around this time, we were named to PR News, which is a big public relations trade publication. They named us one of the top 100 most innovative agencies in America. That was a big deal for us. And we were one of the smallest agencies to make that list. And we were the only agency based inside the city of Philadelphia to make that list, which was a big deal too. And I know later in the conversation, we'll certainly talk about some of the innovation that I've built into this model that positioned us to win that recognition. But that was a big deal. And that was a big deal for me too, because some of the other milestones that we've had have been individual milestones for myself. 30 under 30s, 40 under 40s. And I don't discount those. I mean, those are always, those were a big honor. But it's a different level when the whole agency, when the whole vision gets recognized. Because again, like I said before, I never wanted Flackable to be all about me. So seeing, this vision, this philosophy, and some of the innovative systems that we've introduced to the industry get that type of recognition, that was a big deal for us.
In September, Flackable introduced a credibility marketing training program and a vendor search service. What are the key features of each offering?
Yeah. So, first off, these are services that, or at least, an aspect of Flackable that we've always believed in and helped clients with in one way, shape, or form. With this, we just formalized these processes and molded them into clean cut packages. So like I talked about before, when it comes to credibility marketing, earning that third party credibility is one side, and that's public relations. And that's what we spend the bulk of our time doing, is creating those opportunities for our clients to get that type of recognition. So with these two offerings, now we have clean cut offerings to help them leverage it and make sure that they're maximizing the value of that exposure and helping them integrate it in each of their verticals. Now, these small and mid-sized businesses that we represent, a lot of times they might have just, a marketing department of one person who wears a lot of different hats within marketing and needs support or needs guidance. And we can help with that. Sometimes they don't have a true marketing person at all, and they might have a business development head who doubles as marketing manager when they're not really from that marketing background. And we see that a lot. And then we'll see some companies who will, might have an admin assistant who doubles as taking control of some of those. So in each of those instances, we have a solution to help those types of companies. The education part of it is where we can take, your admin assistant or your internal staff and teach them how to integrate this and extract the most value out of it. And we do these through hour-long video sessions where we walk through each of the verticals and we show them clear examples and build easily repeatable systems and processes so that they know exactly what they're doing when that big quote in the Wall Street Journal hits or that CNBC interview goes live. And then the other part of it is maybe they don't have the internal staff to handle it, or they'd rather their internal staff just not handle it, and they'd rather bring in an outsourced solution. We have a search service now where we will go out, put out put out the proposals and what, or field the proposals and whatnot, and find the best outsourced solution for them, whether that's a marketing firm or a consultant or a freelancer or a combination of those.
So in 2020, you developed a client portal and an automated campaign status reporting system. Can you tell us about the key features of that portal?
So, this has been a vision of mine for years, and we finally announced it right out of the gates in 2020. We had started development on that. I mean, I conceptualized this thing back in 2017, 2018, and it had been slowly just building the internal infrastructure to be able to support it, because we had to build certain processes and whatnot, and we had to figure out how to integrate the right technology in to make this possible. And then finally in 2020, after beta testing it for maybe six to 8 months of beta testing, we were able to finally announce it publicly. And we did that right out of the gates in 2020. So the platform itself, and we've added several layers to it. The platform itself in the beginning was a portal where all of our clients got a login and they could track the status of their campaigns. They could see pending media opportunities. They could see everything that's been published. They'd have a database of links to everything that's been published over a period of time. They'd have all that laid out transparently. And then we added on automated reporting, where now every month a PDF version of that, a clean PDF version of that goes out every month. So my internal team spends 0 hours a month on manual reporting. I use that as a recruiting tool when I'm bringing on new talent. When they know they will spend 0 hours a month doing manual reporting, it's music to their ears. And the clients love the level of access and transparency and accountability that this platform brings, where they can check in at any time and transparently see everything in real time, the good, the bad, the in between. It's mostly good, but not always. And we want to be transparent about that because we want to fix it when it's not. And all that's laid out there. And it's great for my internal team too, because my account managers now we have a back end where they can see clear benchmarks. And we have a clear understanding of what the expectation is for each campaign, and we can track in real time if we're there. And if we're not quite there, we talk internally about it. We can see it. I have an app on my phone where I can look at any of our campaigns at any time with a couple of clicks on my phone.
And I'd assume that's had a very positive impact on your client churn.
It's been an absolute game changer for us. And keep in mind, we announced this at the beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. So we did have what we called a hybrid office prior to the pandemic hitting. After that, we went completely virtual, and we're still operating completely virtual with occasional team get-togethers in the city and so forth. We'll revisit an office in 2022. But because we had to shift back to all virtual, again, advancing our technology infrastructure when we did, and all the investments that we made into it with this platform and for several other things we've done to our internal technology infrastructure, it really positioned us to be successful. And I was already anticipating a lot of the trends that we've seen, across industries pre-pandemic, because I just saw the way technology was advancing and where you needed to be competitive. So the pandemic didn't cause these changes. It just catalyzed some of them and made them come sooner than I was even anticipating they would.
So what are the growth plans for Flackable?
Yeah, well, we have the technology infrastructure and business infrastructure to scale right now. So we're very transparent about that. We're ready to scale. We have pieces in place to scale. Part of it is we are starting to see more opportunities up market. So and I'm not talking about us just totally changing and going after big corporate contracts. But, we had traditionally worked, very heavily with small businesses, and we always will. I love working with small businesses. I never want to not work with small businesses. But we're starting to see a lot more opportunities in the lower middle market and the middle market, we'll call it.
And how would you define that? Is that assets under management, or what's?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the financial clients, these wealth management clients that we're known for working with, absolutely, yes. These days we're talking to and working with more billion plus firms than we had in the past. And that's something that we'll continue to do. When we go outside of that wealth management space, whereas in the past, a lot of our clients had been, less than 100 employees, certainly, oftentimes less than 20 employees. Now we're starting to work with a lot more companies, with over 50, over 100, and we're continuing to talk to companies that are above that as well.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you for sharing the Flackable story. As I said, I love the name and I love your vision, and I'm excited to see where you'll be heading in the coming years.
Thanks so much, Edwin. My pleasure.